Hi, my name is David Rippy. I am a certified hypnotherapist. This is a chapter, A Native American Life, from my book, Meeting Jesus. Enjoy.
A Native American Life. This 29-year-old female client came to me looking for a past life regression and had questions concerning her current life. She works in healthcare and enjoys hiking, the outdoors, and meditation. The hypnotic induction used to put the client in a superconscious state was emitted as it mirrors several others. David, I want you to step out of the golden bubble onto the grass. Take your time, it's low enough to easily step out, about a foot off the ground. Step out onto the field and you are wearing a golden suit of protection where nothing can bother you. As you stand in the green field, you feel your clarity sharpen. Stand there and look around. As I count from 1 to 3, the images get brighter. As I count to 1, you're standing in the field, relaxed and walking around in your golden divine suit, and again, nothing can bother you. 2, you are feeling yourself growing in awareness as the images start to show more detail. 3, the memories are opening more and more. Do you feel anyone around you? Do you see anything in the field? Subject, no. David, stand there longer and look straight ahead, about 50 yards away from where you are now. I want you to walk forward, getting closer and closer to the end of the field. I want you to tell me, do you see any structures? Subject, just small hills. David, are you standing on one of these hills? Subject, in between 2. David, as you're standing there, I want you to look around. Are they far apart? Subject, I can walk between them. David, walk between them and use your intuition. Pick the path that might lead you somewhere you want to see again. Walk through these hills and I'll walk with you. May I walk with you? Subject, yes. David, I'll be with you as your guide through this. Let's walk along, taking everything in, and we are taking our time. Am I next to you? Subject, you're floating next to me. David, we're both floating along in between these hills. Are they green? Are there any trees? Subject, yes, but they're further away. David, let's do this. Drifting along, floating between these hills, can you lead us closer to where the trees are? Subject, yes. David, go ahead and I'll be with you the whole time. Let's make our way toward the trees. Describe what you see as we're going there. Subject, it's a line of trees that you must enter, similar to a forest. David, how far are we going to go into this forest? Is it big? Subject, yes. David, are we getting closer to the trees about to enter them? Subject, yes. David, I'll follow right behind as we go through this forest and tell me what you see. Subject, toward a stream, they're redwood-type trees, evergreens. Mossy ground. Very dense. Walking through and smelling the air, observing the forest. David, are we getting closer to the stream? Subject, yes, I can hear it. David, how wide is it? Let's go to the edge of it. I want you to look across, up and down the stream and tell me what you see. Subject, it's not wide, it's a babbling brook. David, could we jump over it? Subject, yes. David, have you been here before? Subject, I don't know. David, where do you want to go from here? Subject, I want to follow it upstream, walk along it. David, that's nice. As you're looking down into the water, does it look clear? Subject, yes, there are rocks and pebbles. Big rocks. David, as you're looking at the stream, where do you think it's located? If you had to look at a map, where would you put the dot on the map? Subject, Oregon. David, it feels like Oregon to you. Subject, yes. David, you did mention redwoods earlier. Subject, I did. David, you feel like it's a big forest. Are the trees all different sizes? Subject, all different sizes, it's not the redwood forest. David, are we going to walk upstream? Subject, yes. David, point out things to me that I might not know. Subject, mushrooms, a lot of interesting mushrooms. David, did you know about mushrooms which were poisonous and which ones were not? Subject, some of them I would, and others I didn't. David, I want you to look at where you want to go next and tell me what you see. Subject, there's a hill. We must climb it like a hike, not a mountain. We must get toward the top so we can see the rest of the forest. We must go up. David, are we going to walk up this hill or float above it? How far off the ground are we floating above it? Subject, well, I'm walking. David, you're in more of a body form now? Subject, yes. David, as you glance down and look at your legs and feet, are you wearing another type of outfit besides the golden suit? What would you wear if you were in that forest again? Subject, bare feet and clothes made from hand. David, handmade clothing? Subject, yes. David, do you miss this place? Subject, yes. David, does it give you a sense of peace? Do you hear any birds? Subject, yes. David, what types of birds? Subject, I don't know. I don't know the names. David, are there quite a few different sounds? Subject, yes, there's the stream, there's the birds, insects trailing off. David, wow. Is there any wind or rustling of leaves? Subject, yes, there's brown on the leaves. David, if you had to pick a time of year, what time of year would this be? Subject, fall, there's a crunch when you walk. David, you're stepping on leaves, and there's a crunch to them. Is winter coming soon? Subject, no, winter is not coming soon. It's normal. David, normal for this time of year. What's your favorite time of year? Subject, currently fall. David, you're walking along barefoot, and I want you to continue to lead us on this journey. As we make our way to the top of the hill, where are we going from there? Subject, we're at the top of the hill, on a ridge, and I'm looking down into a valley, and it's a village of people. David, let's walk down toward the village. Subject, yes. David, I want you to know that you are only observing. They can't see us. Let's go to the edge of the village. We have an invisibility shield around us, and we can walk among the people in the village unseen. Let's take our time, and as we walk through, you might see other souls you remember. Do you see any people you remember? Subject, they look like strangers, but there's kids playing. It's an Indian village. David, what color is most people's hair? Subject, black. David, are you a male or a female? Subject, female. David, how long is your hair? Subject, it's longer than my current hair. It goes down to the middle of my back. David, I want you to describe what you are wearing, the handmade material. What's it made of? Subject, animal skin. David, as you walk through the village, does it feel like a place you're familiar with? Subject, yes. David, as you walk and take in the memories, they're going to become clearer as they come back to you more and more, as you drift down deeper and deeper. You might see people you recognize. How many tents or structures do you see in the village? Subject, 10 to 15 tents, teepees. David, I want you to walk up to a teepee you might remember. Is there one that you see? Subject, I can select one. David, select one and walk up to it. The occupants won't even know we are opening their teepee. Can we do that? Subject, yes. David, walk up and tell me what you see inside. Subject, there's a woman with 2 children, a boy and a girl. David, how old are the children? Subject, 3 and 4. David, looking at the woman, do you know her from somewhere or is she a stranger to you? Subject, not sure. David, looking at the children, are they familiar to you? Why did you pick this teepee? Subject, I intuitively picked it. Seeing the kids makes me want to cry. David, do you feel you might have known them? Subject, yes. David, looking at the woman in the teepee, is that you? Subject, I think it might be me. David, is there a fire? What do you see inside the teepee? Subject, yes, there's a fire. David, did you have a job in the village? What did you do? Subject, exhales, forage, and as part of the community, care for children. David, I want you to remember you're only observing. I don't want you to get emotionally involved. I know looking at the children made you sad. Remember, you are only watching scenes of that life, almost as if you are viewing a movie on an old projector, showing you past memories. As you look at the children, I want you to think about them. You said there were 2 children? Subject, yes. David, look at them in your mind, and if you looked at the girl, is she older or younger than the boy? Subject, older, 4 years old. David, what did you name her? It might be in another dialect, but give me an idea. What does it translate to? Subject, Anna. David, was there an Indian name? Subject, yes, that's what it would translate to. David, how would you say it if you could think of it in your mind? What was the first letter in your language? Subject, L. David, what would the next letter be? Subject, a U. David, LU. If you're looking at a blackboard in your mind, what's the next letter? Subject, A. David, LUA, what's the next letter? Subject, N. David, it's LUAN. Is there another letter? Subject, A. David, Luana? Luana? Subject, that's it. David, in your mind, you see that translating to Anna? Subject, yes. David, is my pronunciation right? Is it Luana? Subject, yes. David, that's a nice name, and if you look at the boy, how old is he? Subject, 3. David, as you're looking at the boy and he's playing in the teepee, you are not going to get emotionally involved. What is his name? What would it translate to? Subject, Peter. David, if you had to say it in your language, what would be the first letter of his name? Subject, M. David, M-OK, what would be the second? Subject, E. David, M-E, what would be the third? Subject, N. David, M-E-N. Is there another one? Subject, O. David, M-E-N-O. Is there another one? Subject, K. David, is there another one? Subject, no. David, how would you say his name? Subject, Men-OK. David, Men-OK. Am I saying it correctly? Subject, close. David, what does it translate to again? Subject, Peter. David, as you look at this scene when your children were 3 and 4, how old were you? Subject, 26. David, you said you wore animal skins. What types of animals? Subject, rabbit, pauses, goat. David, any other animals? Subject, cow. David, you would have access to cows too? What about deer? Subject, as if in awe, yes, there were deer. David, a choice of leathers. What did you prefer to wear? What was more comfortable? Subject, rabbit. David, would you take the fur off or keep it on? Subject, right now it's fur's off. David, so you would rotate leathers on and off throughout the year. Can you feel yourself still glowing? Subject, yes. David, do you feel that power? Subject, yes. David, what was your name if you had to translate it into English? Subject, Maria. David, Maria, that's a pretty name. What would that translate to in your language? What would be the first letter? Subject, A. David, what would be the second? Subject, N. David, A-N. What's the third? Subject, H. David, A-N-H, and what else? Subject, A. David, A-N-H-A. How would you pronounce that? Subject, Anha. David, what did you call a rabbit in your language? Subject, big inhale and exhale, something with a T. David, you see a T in your mind. What would be the second letter? Subject, E. David, T. What's the third letter? Subject, I see another T. David, T-T. What's the fourth letter? Subject, K. David, TTK, and what's another one? Subject, A. David TTKA. How do you say that? Subject, Tikha. David, that would mean rabbit in your language? Subject, yes. David, where do you live again? Subject, Oregon. David, was there a name for your village? If you had to pick an Indian tribe, what would the name be for your tribe? Subject, Chippewa. David, does that feel good, Chippewa? Subject, yes. David, if you were looking at years, what year or century would it be? If I said to look in your mind's eye and pick the first two numbers, what would those numbers be? Subject, 1-6. David, let's take those away. It's 1-6. What are the next two numbers? Subject, 3-6. David, 1636. Does that sound right? Subject, yes. David, is that the year you were born or the year you were 26? Subject, the year I'm 26. David, how did you know that? Subject, I'm placing it by the joy and the peace of the time. David, it was 1636. You said there were how many teepees in your village again? Subject, 15. David, 15, and thank you. I remember you said that earlier. Did you have any battles with other tribes? Subject, no battles. David, did you live near other villages? Subject, yes. David, did your village have a chief? Subject, yes. David, was he a good chief? Did everyone like him? Subject, yes. David, what was your name again? Subject, Anha. Author's note, in many of the regressions, I will ask questions that are similar to questions asked earlier in the sessions in order to test a subject's recall. This provides assurance that the subject is in a deep subconscious state and there is no fabrication. David, how would that be spelled again? Subject, Anha. David, can I call you Anha? Subject, yes. David, in that life were you married? Subject, yes. David, when you were 26, was your husband still alive? Subject, yes. David, was he a good husband? Subject, yes. David, let's look at his name. If you had to say it in English, what would it translate to? Subject, sigh and long pause. David, what was he known as? Subject, I feel it starts with a T. David, something that starts with a T. What year was that again? Subject, 1636. David, what is the second letter? Subject, E. David, T and a third? Subject, K. David, T-K and what else? What's the fourth letter? Subject, U. David, U. So, T-E-K-U. Is there another letter? Subject, N. David, T-K-U-N. And what else? Is there another one? Subject, A. David, T-K-U-N-A. Is there another letter? Subject, N. Tekhunen is how it's pronounced. David, does it mean anything in particular? Is there a name that it translates to? Subject, strength. David, strength. You did tell me earlier how your tribe said rabbit. How would you say fish? If you had to see it pronounced in your mind, is there a certain word for fish? Subject, peak. David, how would you spell that? Subject, P-I-K. I guess. David, what about sun? Did you have a word for that? Subject, I think Saul. David, if you made a trip to the ocean, from where you are in Oregon, how far away was the ocean from you? Subject, far away. David, if you had to walk to it, how long would it take? Did you have horses? Subject, no. David, you don't have horses. Subject, no. David, a lot of your trapping and foraging was done on foot. Subject, yes. David, I want you to go from your life at 26. Do you see yourself at 50? Subject, no. David, after 26, did you have any more children? Subject, no. David, you had the boy and the girl. Do you see them getting older? Subject, yes. David, what year did you pass? How much longer did you live past 26? Subject, 42. David, I want you to relax. The memories will become even clearer. You're not absorbing that life or the trauma from that life. You are remembering all the happiness, the children and the good times. Not a time to be sad. Let's go to your age of 42. You're not getting emotionally involved. Describe how you look. Subject, a little more wrinkled and a little grayer. David, does your body have much pain at this point? Do any of your bones and joints hurt? Subject, yes. David, you remember the pain? Subject, yes. Feet. It was feet. Achy feet. David, did you do anything to make them feel better? Did you have any potions or anything you put on them? Was there a medicine man or shaman in your village? Subject, yes. David, was it a medicine man or a medicine woman? Subject, a man. David, a medicine man. Was he very helpful to the people? Subject, yes. David, what would he give you to put on your feet when they hurt or throbbed? Subject, green leaves heated up and wrapped around the foot. David, do you know what the leaves were? What did you call these leaves? Were they special? Subject, mint leaves. David, does it make your feet feel better if the mint leaves are warmed up? Subject, yes. It would cool, but it would activate the medicine so that they would cool while they were on. David, did he have other types of herbs or poultices for other parts that hurt? What would he give someone if their hands hurt? The same thing? Subject, no, lavender. David, lavender. Did he use a lot of different things depending on the ailment and what he thought was needed? Subject, yes. David, you are only observing. I want you to take me to your moment of death. What did you die from? Subject, disease. Illness. David, you caught a disease. Subject, something that can be cured today. Something similar to measles. David, going to your moment of death, did you feel sick then? Subject, yes. David, were you feverish? Subject, yes. David, let's go to that time and I want you to relax. Were you in your teepee? Subject, yes. David, did the village try to help you as best as they could? Subject, yes. David, let's go to that moment. You're only observing and not getting emotionally involved. I want you to take me right to your moment of death and tell me what happened. Did you know that you had died? Subject, yes. David, I want you to look at your body in your mind's eye. Right when you died, describe what happened next. Where did you go? What do you remember? Subject, seeing the kids crying. My mom at that time was there and my husband is standing. Mom's sitting next to the kids at my feet. I am outside of my body looking down. David, how did you feel? Subject, sad. David, you didn't want to leave? Subject, yes. David, because you loved your children, your husband and mother. You were floating inside the teepee above your body? Subject, yes. David, tell me how long you stayed there. What happened? Subject, I stayed there watching and I was sad. But I also felt smarter, wiser. David, you felt what? Subject, wiser. I learned something. And in that it's okay. It will be okay. David, you didn't feel nervous? Subject, no. David, were there other beings letting you know these things? Did you feel other consciousness coming into your mind as you were floating there? Did you feel that a higher power was telling you it was okay? Subject, yes. David, what did your tribe believe in at this time? Did you believe in a great spirit? Subject, yes. David, tell me about that. Did you have other gods, such as gods of the water or trees, or was it only one great spirit? Subject, one great spirit. David, you believed in one God. Subject, yes. David, he was all powerful. Is that what you believed? Subject, yes. David, did you worship Great Spirit? Subject, it was more of a relationship that provided, and you had to respect and provide back to it and nurture it, the spirit. David, you only took what you needed from the land? Subject, right. David, you didn't abuse it, correct? You treated Mother Nature as she should be treated, with love and respect. Subject, yes. David, that was very important in your beliefs? Subject, yes. David, was that something Great Spirit demanded of you? Subject, yes. David, that things were not to be abused or treated with disrespect? Subject, yes. David, Great Spirit provided for you, and as a result, things went well right up to the disease. Subject, right. David, did you blame Great Spirit for taking your life? Subject, no. David, did you realize it was time, and that it was okay? Subject, yes. David, you had no regrets or remorse in that life? You were sad because you missed your children, husband and mother. Subject, yes. David, you knew it was time though, right? Subject, yes. David, I want you to go to that moment when you're floating in the teepee. I want you to go outside the teepee and tell me what happens next. Where do you go from there? Subject, I float above the village. I go back into the forest, high up into the forest and into the leaves. I go back across the valley, back into the woods. David, what do you do in those woods? Subject, just. David, did you stay there? What do you remember when you went back into the woods? Subject, I became part of the trees. David, did you feel you had a soul or consciousness when you dissipated into the trees? Subject, yes. David, you became a part of everything. Is that correct? Subject, yes. David, how did that feel at that moment? Do you remember separating yourself and becoming a part of everything? Subject, it felt like becoming a mother. David, okay. Subject, it felt as if I separated in many parts and became part of something bigger that will continue to provide. David, did you ever see your children again after you went into the woods? Did you ever see them when they became older? Did they ever come join you in the woods and become part of everything, or do you not remember? Did you lose track of everything after that? Subject, I can see them in the woods. David, when they passed on, is that when they came to the woods? Did you see them when they were alive and walking in the woods? Subject, later on. David, so they came in as older children into the woods. Subject, yes. David, you were there, and you could observe them? Subject, yes. David, you were part of every tree? Subject, yes. David, so every time they walked through the woods, you could see them from all these different trees, correct? Subject, yes. David, how did that feel? Did you feel your consciousness was jumping from one tree to the next, or was it spread among everything? Subject, there was just. David, did it feel as if you had eyes in every tree? Subject, it was a knowing, I didn't have to move. It was similar to a movie I could see. David, interesting. While you were there in all those trees, were there others like you in all the trees too, more than one? Subject, yes. David, how many did it feel were in each tree? Say you were in a tree, did it feel there were many, many pieces of others in the same tree? Subject, yes. David, the whole forest was full of different souls. Is that correct? Subject, yes. David, they were all separated and scattered among everything. Subject, yes. David, did you ever see the Great Spirit or any of your famous chiefs when you were in the woods as a soul or spirit? Subject, I don't know. David, did it seem as though every soul was about the same level of evolvement as you? The fragments of souls that were in the trees, were there souls that had been around for a long time? Did it seem there were different levels of consciousness in the forest? Subject, I'm not sure. David, it sounds very interesting. It seems you had a very nice life. Did you enjoy your life as an Indian woman? Subject, yes. David, you enjoyed your children and your husband, and you felt very peaceful there. Subject, yes. David, is one of the reasons this past life came up, is that you felt such peace in that life, and at times it's hard to find peace in this life? Subject, yes. David, you miss walking among the hills, enjoying the trees along the riverbanks, and having such a nice and easy life. Right? Subject, yes. David, I want you to know that when you feel anxious or stressed, you can always go back to that nice Indian life and find that peace and tranquility. Listen to this recording again, and allow those memories to bring you to that state. Subject, yes. David, you know you can always go to that life when you meditate and find that peace again. You can find that peace in this life, knowing that you can stay in a state of peace by bringing the positive energy forward and channeling it toward what is bothering you now. Can you do that? Subject, yes. David, I think we'd all want to have a peaceful life, similar to your Indian life at one time or another. It sounds very idyllic and brings you very close to nature. It was a peaceful time for you, and you can escape to that life in your mind any time you want. You have all the images and visuals of that Indian life now, and when you find the time, meditate and you can go there again. You will be able to enjoy that life again. In a trance state, you can walk through those woods where you felt such peace. I am going to bring you up out of your hypnotic state now. As I count from 1 to 5, you will become more and more awake with each